Hey folks, how's it going? This is Iron Seagull here, back with another Sims Info and Thoughts video. So, usually shortly after a pack is announced, SimGurus start answering some questions on Twitter. There hasn't been too much of that yet, but there's some tweets that I still found interesting, so I thought I'd go over them in this video. We'll start with this tweet from SimGuru Ash. Cannot wait for Simmers to see how the multi-living homes work. As a builder, I can say, all my homes are about to be multi-fam. And Odafi asks, can you share how many apartments/households can live on one lot? And Ash replies with, I don't actually know because I didn't max it out when I was building. A guru who worked on it would know. That sounds kind of promising. So definitely more than just a couple of households on the same lot. SimGuru Nova also teased the apartment customization, with Chrissy asking, can we set how cheap/expensive the apartments etc. are that our Sims rent out? Or is it more of a fixed thing based on how big it is, expensive it is, etc.? And SimGuru Nova replies with, I don't want to share too much, but, in my opinion, contrary to some of the assumptions I've seen people tweeting, the amount of freedom you'll have with this pack is a lot, pun not intended, but still there. So much so that I was in awe of it the first time I saw the designs. And that's speaking as both a simmer and a producer. I was like, ugh, when I realized what the possibilities were. That was a good question because I assumed the value of each apartment unit would be fixed depending on how big it is and what sort of furniture you put inside, but it seems like the implication is that no, you do have more control over that. I don't know if it's to the point where you can even just manually adjust the number regardless of what we have in the unit, but I'm pretty intrigued. With the limit of how many households can live on a single residential rental lot, I figured it'll probably be like The Sims 2 Apartment Life, where you can have up to 4. And realistically, I don't know if I would really ever have many more households than that in one building, because that would be a lot of Sims to make, unless it was a bunch of single Sim households. But yeah, I think that is something I could work with. But I wonder if it actually might be more than that, or even unlimited. And then, like in the trailer, where it has at one point the apartment fading out, maybe it actually does work like that and it's not staged, so that it won't destroy your performance if you do have a lot of different households. So then theoretically, if you're playing in a residential rental lot, you'll only fully see the current household, including the Sims and all the furnishings and that stuff. But then that would all be faded away for the other households living on that same lot until you switch over to another household in that lot, and then it would fade out the first one that you were playing as. Another big question that needs to be answered is, will there be loading screens between the different units in a single residential rental lot? I think the answer may end up being both yes and no, but at the very least, they look like they will function differently from city living and eco lifestyles apartments, because with those, they function as different lots. It's just that they're encased within those shell buildings so that they have a different feel. But then these residential rentals in for rent, well, they are still all technically on the same lot. But then I think the difference may lie in between just visiting the other unit versus switching between households. For simply visiting your neighbors, I don't think there'll be a loading screen, but then if you want to actually switch between households, you'd have to go to Manage World, so then there would be a couple of loading screens, unless they implement something similar to The Sims 2, where if you click on a nearby house, you have the option of just switching to that other house without having to go back to the neighborhood view. There was still the loading screen, of course, when you click yes, but at least it did cut out the whole going back to the neighborhood screen, so it felt less clunky that way. That is occasionally something that I do wish we had in The Sims 4. Now let's talk about traits. So SimGuru Connor says, excited to finally show this. I worked on 4 of the 5 new personality traits for this pack. One especially is very close to me and Pizza Pauline's heart. It rhymes with hinge. And Evan says, okay, so we're in for a treat is what you're saying. And Connor replies with, a big goal with these traits was to be able to identify their personality just by their animations alone. I think they deliver on that. So that does give me an even stronger feeling that you need to have the cringe trait in order to dab. Then Connor says, also Sims will have an opportunity to become wise when aging into an elder, depending on how smart I deem them and a bit of luck. And Odafi asks, can you also earn this trait with the new self-discovery system from Growing Together? And Connor replies, the other traits can be earned through self-discovery, but Wise is special but acts somewhat similar. So first of all, thank goodness those other traits can be earned through self-discovery, because an oversight with Horse Ranch and its 2 traits is that you can't self-discover them. I have a mod that fixes that. It's just weird that they just kind of overlooked that, even with the pack coming out so soon after Growing Together. I'm so intrigued to see how exactly this Wise trait is going to work. Maybe it could be similar to the character value system from Parenthood, but I'm leaning towards the more recent confidence system that we've had for children in Growing Together, where you can have neutral, low, or high confidence, and then once they grow up into teenagers, they can have high or low self-esteem, just depending on their life experiences and skills. I imagine the logic skill will play a big part into whether Sims grow into wise elders, but what else? Maybe it could integrate with grades that they've earned throughout their school life, including university if you have Discover University installed, but I'm not too sure what else. If all else fails though, Connor confirms that you can still assign the wise trait to your elder and create a sim. Simmer Ralph asks, Sims invading houses use some of the new traits, or is it a new interaction for all? And Connor replies, it is not tied to nosy, it should be available regardless of trait. That is good to know. I'm glad it's not exclusive to a single trait. And I am in general curious to see how mechanically all of these new traits are going to work. What are they going to bring to the table? Child of the Village to me sounds like it's going to be a trait that focuses a lot on the local culture of Tomarang, but then the other traits sound like they could be very applicable to the game in general. Something that SimGuru Connor is known for is inserting Power Sip energy drinks into some of the more recent packs. And they're often accompanied by some really funny moodlets with some caps lock involved. And he was asked by Gucci too if there's going to be a Power Sip variant included with For Rent. Connor says, not this time, but I will see to it Power Sip returns someday. No! What, there's no Power Sip in the Southeast Asian inspired world? Oh well, it's not actually a big deal, but I think it is kind of a nice touch. I like seeing things like that just kind of sprinkled across different packs that gives some more, I guess you could say, consistent lore to the world of The Sims 4. Like how, for example, with Kids Room stuff, we had the Void Critters that are basically the Sims equivalent of Pokemon, and they've made various cameos since then, including those onesies that we got just a few days ago in that base game update. To end things on a humorous note, Silly Simmons says, okay, but the title, For Rent, no. Should have been Get to Renting or Love to Rent, shake my head. And Connor says, don't worry, I snuck a love to rent in the text. Gotta keep the dream alive. There you go. That's a little something for those of you who voted for love to knit in the title votes for nifty knitting stuff. So, yeah, that's gonna be a thing. I mean, honestly, I'm glad that title did not win, because even though it sounds funny at first, I think the Sims community would have gotten tired of it and just turned on it completely and be like, wow, why did we vote for that? That's so cringe. And hey, there's a cringe trait in this expansion pack. So I'm glad that, okay, we got nifty knitting, but hey, that we can have a funny little inside joke still. And that wraps up another Sims Info and Thoughts video. So feel free to let me know your thoughts in the comment section below on this expansion pack so far. And be sure to subscribe if you'd like to keep up with my latest gaming content. I will talk to you all later, and have a great day. Thanks for watching.